Late last year, I was of the opinion that the next 6 or 7 months were going to be absolutely huge in the world of sim racing. There were a handful of major new game releases, of course, as always, plenty of new hardware, and also just major updates to the games we know and love. So fast forward to the middle of March 2024. Where are we at? How are things actually progressing? How have the new releases been? What's changed since the turn of the year? And of course, what's going to be coming up in the near future? All of these things will be discussed in this video. We're actually going to start right at the turn of the new year because Automobilista 2 released a major paid DLC pack in the form of Endurance Pack 1 and also Circuit de la Sarthe. It was great for endurance racing fans to bring in the new year with some Le Mans style content, especially with the official Le Mans game coming out very shortly. Now this pack contained 3 of the modern LMDH cars, that being the BMW, the Cadillac and the Porsche, all 3 cars of course having raced in IMSA and now racing in WEC as well, and it also had 4 updated GT3 cars. All of the new DLC was even free to try for the first few days, which was a really nice touch from Ryza Studios. And of course it's not just about the new DLC, we also got plenty of other AMS2 updates as we often see from Ryza. I'd say the biggest thing though concerns the AI behaviour. Now don't get me wrong, it's still a long way from what I would describe as perfect. The AI race you well, but sometimes they're unnaturally quick, they carry a lot of grip through the corners, sometimes they just kind of follow in a big train, and also in traffic they can sometimes be still a little bit dodgy. When they get too close to someone else they slow up a bit too much, but generally speaking it's a big step up from what we've seen in the past with Automobilista 2. So we know that Ryza will keep on dropping us new DLC, we know that they'll continue to improve the game with little tweaks, but I think we need a career mode or something, a major feature, and I know they're desperate to get one out there. At the moment we're just going to have to rely on third-party stuff, which to be fair, for both online racing and career mode, there are some really good third-party options out there. But won't it be great to see a proper, official Automobilista 2 career mode? You really can have a good fun AI race on this, they are great to battle when you get them set up properly. Now arguably, 2 of the biggest things to have happened in sim racing in 2024 have both happened within the last month or so. One of the big ones has to be the release in late February of Le Mans Ultimate. Now this of course was launched in an early access... Ooh. Gonna try that again. Now of course this is very much an early access title at the moment, but if you want to hear what I think about it in terms of my first impressions, make sure you check out the full video that we've already made on the Race Anywhere channel. But basically, the long and short of it is, it's bare bones in terms of features, it's pretty damn buggy, there's lots of issues there, but the gameplay experience itself and also the online racing experience, superb. Ironically, even though it's meant to be an endurance racing game, it's actually really well suited at the moment to sprint racing formats. It's very Moorish. Every time you finish a race, you just want to jump in the other one, and from what I can pick up, lots of other people are finding it exactly the same as me in that sense. You just want to keep going. Whilst it's really refreshing to have a brand new game that feels so good when you're out on circuit, the developers obviously do have a long way to go in terms of polishing this, sorting the bugs, getting more features out there, and it's going to need to do all of that stuff if it really wants to have a high position within the sim racing hierarchy. So given this, the AMS2 Endurance Pack, and also something else which I'm going to come onto later in this video, I have to say it's been a pretty good start to the year for endurance racing fans. Now the second major thing to happen in the world of sim racing in the last month or so can be found within the iRacing service. March's Season 2 update had the usual collection of stuff. We had new cars, new circuits, new layouts within existing circuits. It even had, UI updates, and there was even an update to the license system which basically split up open wheel and closed wheel cars into 2 separate licenses for road racing. But, of course, the main headline from this update has to be the long-awaited Tempest weather system. The main thing about this is it's basically moved rain in sim racing forward an entire level. I mean, we've seen lots of great wet weather stuff before, but this just eclipses everything in terms of its realism, the dynamic nature of it, how different it is from certain parts of the circuit to others. Again, much like LMU, we've done a video covering this. Whoa! sorry, this Formula 4 does not have fully wet tyres, so you're just struggling. And despite how good it is overall, there are of course flaws. There's a little bit too much spray and bad visibility even when the rain's not actually that heavy. And there's also just a lot of standing water, again when the rain's not supposed to be as heavy as it is, but those are all things that can be tweaked. The general response has been overwhelmingly positive for this system. It's certainly going to take a lot of learning this for new members and existing and experienced iRacing members, but it's just spectacular that we have the option. How about we move on to something now that we haven't yet covered on the Race Anywhere channel? Another popular sim, Assetto Corsa Competizione, also got some new content. This year we had the introduction of the GT2 pack, with also Red Bull Ring thrown in the mix for good measure. Now these cars are pretty epic, very powerful, sound and look amazing, especially this Maserati in my opinion. But despite this being a fairly major DLC pack, it's probably got nothing on the next ACC DLC pack, which is going to be coming at some point in the future, because despite everyone thinking this would never happen, ACC's finally going to get the Nordschleife. Now this is because the SRO have announced that the Nordschleife will be part of the Intercontinental GT Challenge in future, and it just means that every fan of ACC gets what they've been wanting forever. Now one other thing I should mention about this pack, it was very quick indeed to also come out for console. It's been something that ACC struggled with in the past, there's always been a big gap, but on this occasion the console version came very quickly after, so kudos to everyone involved for getting that sorted quickly. So obviously there's a lot happening now and in the near future with ACC, but what about AC2, which we were expecting to see at some point this year? Now even though the original vanilla Assetto Corsa is more than a decade old now, it still holds up really well, and obviously through mods and communities it's become something rather special, and it kind of caters towards every kind of racing fan as well, which is another thing that just makes it stand out from the crowd. In fact, despite this game's age, it's still far more popular to PC users than its more modern counterparts, including ACC. There are more people playing the original Assetto Corsa. So what is there to talk about then with AC2? Well, unfortunately, pretty much nothing. The last we heard was that this game was coming in Q2 2024, and, well, it's now March and we still haven't heard anything else since, so the jury's out on this one. I'm not sure. Either they're going to leave us with a pretty awesome surprise, or it's not quite as far along as they had hoped, because you would think you would have heard something by now. We don't even know if it's going to be a natural successor to AC1, or whether it's going to be something totally different, just with the same name, you know? So obviously, despite all the unknowns and the uncertainty, it's definitely something we can be excited for in the future, when we eventually do hear more about it. So what about the world of rallying then? Now obviously the big news regarding rally and sim racing was the launch late last year of EA Sports WRC. And it was fairly positive, I'd say, on launch. I certainly loved it. There were flaws, plenty of performance issues, bugs, things like that. But there was loads of content, loads of features. Now we had our Season 2 update in December to bring the Central European Rally, but the Season 3 update in February didn't bring much else, in terms of content at least anyway. We got fixes for some bugs and glitches, we got stability improvements, performance improvements, obviously collectibles and moments and stuff like that, but no new content. Now I've got mixed feelings about this, because obviously for a game to be successful over the long run you do need to have a stable platform, and that's what they're trying to build with this game. You need to fix what's there before you start adding more on top. But at the same time, you do also want to see some new content coming out. Especially when you consider that the venerable Dirt Rally 2.0 actually had more active players on PC last month than EA Sports WRC, so EA Sports / Codemasters or whatever guys are in now really do need to keep on bringing in the new content if they want to keep people playing. But I'm not too worried, because this is a long-term project. This game is not a one-year game. It's going to be here to stay, just like Dirt Rally 2.0 was back in the day. Hang on a second, guys. So you know how just a minute ago I said we didn't have a release date for the Nordschleife on ACC? Well, my good friend Tom Harrison Lord has literally just reported, as I'm making this video, that it's set to come on the 1st of April, so that's really not long to wait. Now I do also briefly want to touch on Rennsport. No. Now I do just want to briefly touch on Rennsport. It is still in closed beta, so lots of people still don't have their hands on it. And late last year we did see some big updates. Lots of new content coming in. I say lots. A couple of circuits, Road Atlanta became available. We saw some more cars added as well, like this TCR Hyundai and an Audi as well. But in terms of 2024, not too much has happened. We did have the addition of Orchard Road, which is the track I'm driving around now, a community track, and that's obviously a major thing for Rennsport going forward. That's the kind of thing they're looking to do. And I do know, thanks to their Discord channel, that there is an active community of people that are doing these early races on Rennsport, which is great. But we're still very much in the early stages. We still need to find out a lot more about this game before we can really get excited about it. A bit like ACC, my timing's a little funny with this one, because I know for a fact that Rennsport are about to release their roadmap for the year within the next week or so, and obviously, by the time you watch this video, they quite possibly already have. So this section might end up being a little out of date quite quickly. So moving away from the more niche stuff, what about the big hitters? The games that the masses on console will play that get them into sim racing, and then of course from there they can go on to the more hardcore titles. I'm talking about Gran Turismo 7 and Forza Motorsport. Now we did see a major Gran Turismo 7 update towards the end of last year, as seems to be a bit of a common theme in this video. There were more AI Sophie races added, which is an incredible Gran Turismo specific AI system that genuinely makes you feel like you're racing against real people. And there was also some changes made to the structure of the single player experience, or at least the visuals of the single player experience, to make it feel a little bit more like a traditional Gran Turismo game. As for this year, well, it's just been the usual expected updates coming every so often, with some new cars, the odd little tweak here and there, but nothing too spectacular. It's actually a fairly similar story when we're talking about Forza Motorsport. Now obviously this game actually launched late last year, and there have been regular updates since then, but usually it's like new events or bug fixes, the odd track, maybe a car here and there, but again nothing majorly groundbreaking that's going to change the narrative surrounding the game. So I'd say it's all fairly neutral in terms of the big hitters in 2024, but I think because of the Gran Turismo movie, for example, there's going to be more eyes on sim racing than ever before, especially at that ground level with people playing on console, so I think it's only going to be a good thing for sim racing going forward. But now something a little more negative. Esports. Things are in a bit of a sticky situation at the moment, specifically regarding high-end esports, and it's a lot to do with the controversy surrounding the Formula 1 esports series. It's been a well-documented disaster so far this year. We don't have a proper championship, we had one round, and that was fully controversial in itself. There's been a lack of communications, a lack of answers and clarity, contract disputes between teams and organisers. It's a mess, and none of this is great for the world of sim racing within the esports space. Also, we didn't see the return of motorsport games Le Mans Virtual and Le Mans Virtual Series. Now this is highly likely down to the release of course of the official game, Le Mans Ultimate, and I'm hoping that this series and event can return in future on the Le Mans Ultimate platform. The other big series, of course, is ESL R1, and at this point last year, we were already well underway with our first season. Now, we do know that Rennsport are committed to ESL R1 in 2024, but we haven't seen much yet. All of this does mean a lot of instability for top teams and top drivers. They're popping up in all sorts of series all over the place. It does feel like a very fragmented space at the moment. But although high-level esports is on rocky ground, community-driven, league racing and things like that are all in a very good spot, as they always will be, because there's always people out there looking for a good race, and there are plenty of new competitions popping up as well, so it's not all doom and gloom. Now, I mentioned way back at the start that there was some more good news for endurance racing fans coming later in this video, and it's in the form of a brand new game announcement. It's called Endurance Motorsport Series and is being developed by Kiloton, who are responsible for the early Isle of Man TT Ride on the Edge games, as well as many of the WRC games all the way up to Generations. Now we're very close to the release of Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, which is also Kiloton developed, so they're a very busy studio at the moment, it's fair to say, so I don't expect this game to be appearing anytime soon, and we don't have that much information yet other than the announcement itself. What we do know is it's going to be endurance racing focused with LMP2s, GT cars, and also hypercars, and it's also going to have some management elements to it as well. So it's not just about the driving, it's also going to be about the management, which is really nice to hear. According to the early info, it will faithfully reproduce some legendary circuits, and the driving will be realistic, which puts it in a category with basically every other sim out there in the market. Now, something else worth noting for the future, a new piece of sim racing technology was unveiled recently in the form of the Last Garage. They appeared at this year's Sim Formula Europe event with a drivable build of the project to date, and it's being headed by Marcel Offermans, who has a lot of experience with the likes of ISI, Ryza, and also was the head of R Factor 2 for Studio 397 for over 5 years. Now, we still don't know exactly what it's going to look like in its final form. I don't know if it's going to be a sim racing physics engine or a base for other games to use, or whether it's going to be a standalone title in its own right, but what we do know is that there are some people involved with lots of good experience, and although it's probably not going to influence the sim racing space in the next few years, it's certainly one that will have a notable impact in future. So with all of that being said, what more is there to come in 2024? Well, of course, there's more new titles to look forward to. We've got the annual ones, such as F124 that we expect to see in the summer. You've also got the likes of GT Revival, which is well worth keeping an eye on. Now with this one, developers Straight4 Studios have previously mentioned that they're aiming for a Q4 release in 2024. But that being said, CEO Ian Bell was fairly clear that he doesn't want this game to launch until it's fully ready, so don't be massively surprised if this release date is pushed back into 2025. It's another one of those games where things are looking promising, but until we actually get our hands on it and see more of it, we're going to have to hold off before any judgment's passed. So we have some exciting new games, updates, and features coming this year. We've already seen some exciting new games, updates, and features. And what is the state of sim racing in 2024? Well, to be honest, it's been refreshing recently, just the amount of positivity surrounding this hobby. Players really do seem to be enjoying new titles, commending the updates that we've seen, because at the end of the day, things are moving forward and progress is being made in the sim racing space. The other nice thing is that with the amount of sims on offer, it seems like everyone has got something that they can really get behind and enjoy, and it's harder to complain about everything else when you're so focused on enjoying what you've got. And whilst everyone has got something to sink their teeth into and enjoy in the meantime, we of course can get excited about the likes of AC2 and GT Revival just around the corner. Of course, too much excitement, too much hype can leave you disappointed in the end, but I'd rather be excited than dispirited. So I hope you've enjoyed this little overview of the current state of sim racing, and if you have found it useful or enjoyable in any way, we really would appreciate you leaving a like and subscribing to the Race Anywhere channel to make sure you catch all of the videos in future covering everything we've talked about in this video, and of course plenty more as well. I've been John from Race Anywhere, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great week.